You and I as the Israelites, have to war within yourselves and against your own fleshly lust. You have to war with worldly temptation. With all the spiritual energy you can muster, war for the kingdom of Yah.
We aim and shoot scriptural bullets at demon troops. I'm just spitting truth. Look at yourself if it's staying you. Release yourself from the lies and the doctrine you clinging to. Repenting mean the path that you walk and you see it through. That mean you gotta switch up your people, leaving the crew. That mean you gotta watch what you say and watch what you do. But until you see the truth.
All right, Shalom Israel. First, I want to start off by giving all praise to the Most High Yah. Do so in the name of His Son Yahweh Shah. The title of it is Watch Your Mouth Part 2. So, start off by getting the scripture. Get James 3, verse 1 through 10. Because you know how you hear the saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but word can never hurt me. Although is some truth to that, but that's like encouraging us to be reckless with our mouth. So we're not going to go by that one. We're going to go by what the Bible say.
The book of James, chapter 1. My brother, be not many masters. Oh, chapter
3, verse 1.
James 3 and 1.
God.
My brother, be not many masters, knowing that we shall receive a greater condemnation. For in many things we offend all. If any man offend not in word, the same is a perfect man, and able also to bridle the whole body.
You see that? So the Most High said, if you are capable of not offending in word, you can bridle your whole body. So that's letting you know you have to watch what you say. Keep going.
Behold, we put bits in the horse's mouth, that they may obey us, and we turn about the whole body.
You see that? A bit is a small piece. A bit is probably this big. And it go in the horse's mouth. You can turn his head with it and control which way he go. You control his whole body with a little metal piece that's this big. Keep going.
Verse 4. Behold, also the ships, which though they be so great, are driven of fierce winds, ye are turned about with a very small helm, whithersoever the governor listeth.
See that? So this talking about the rudder on the ship. The rudder on the ship is very small compared to the size of the whole ship, but it can turn the whole ship. So all you gotta do is just turn it just like that. You can turn the whole ship. Keep going.
Verse 5. Even so, the tongue is a little member, and boasts of great things. Behold, how great a matter a little fire kindled. And the tongue is a fire.
God. You see that the tongue, something else this big, and it can control your whole body. Not only your body, it can control the outcome of many situations that you put yourself in, or that situation that you get in. Control the whole outcome of the situation. Keep going.
Verse 6. And the tongue is a fire, a world of iniquity. So is the tongue among our members, that it defileth the whole body, and setteth on fire the course of nature, and it is set on fire of hell.
You see that your tongue can shift the whole course of nature, especially if you got in a position of power. Like, just think of how Kim Jong-un and Donald Trump and Putin can get up here and just say certain words, and it could change the course of history. Keep going.
For every kind of beast, and of birds, and of serpents, and of things in the sea is tamed, and have been tamed of mankind. But the tongue can no man tame. It is unruly, evil, full of deadly poison.
You see that? We can got dominion over all this stuff. Man didn't master most animals and mastered nature, trying to master the elements, making progress. Might not be able to master the elements, but can predict weather and predict seasons and stuff, but can't predict what's gonna fly out of somebody's mouth. Keep going.
Verse 9. Therewith bless we God, even the Father, and therewith curse we men, which are made after the similitude of God. Out of
Keep
the
going.
same mouth proceeded blessing and cursing. My brother, these things are not so to be.
You see that? So we can bless or we can curse with the tongue. So and it shouldn't be like that. A man of the Most High or women of the Most High, blessings are to flow forth out of our mouth, at least for our brother. Let me get James 1:26.
The book of James, chapter 1 and 26. If any man among you seem to be religious, and bridle not his tongue, but deceiveth his own heart, this man religion is vain.
You see that? So if you call yourself being so-called religious or a follower of the Most High, you better be able to control your tongue. You get Leviticus 19:16 through 18. This one of the sins that a lot of our people are guilty of, but don't realize it.
Leviticus 19 and 16. Thou shalt not go up and down as a talebearer among thy people, neither shalt thou stand against the blood of thy neighbor. I am the Lord. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thy heart. Thou shalt not anywise rebuke thy neighbor, and not suffer sin upon him.
You see that? So that them two verses right there. If you don't go up and down as a talebearer, don't go around spreading rumors and gossiping. That's what it means to talebearer, lying on somebody. Just talking about stuff you ain't got no business talking about. So you shouldn't be going back and forth doing that. And then it say, don't hate your brother in your heart, but rebuke him, rebuke thy neighbor, and not suffer sin upon him. If you see somebody doing something wrong, words ought to come out of your mouth, words of love and correction. So this is two things right here. We did that. Just those two things. How much more violence and how much more foolishness you think that'll cut out on? Just those two laws right there. Keep going.
Verse 18. Thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against thy children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbors thyself. I am
You
the
see that?
Lord, the God. I am the Lord.
You see that? You should love your neighbor as yourself. And if you love your neighbor, you go correct them. You go speak positive things about him. You ain't gonna go around slandering his name and spreading rumors. You see that? Let me get this first article just to show you how powerful this tongue really is. And this one is titled Detroit teen killed, another hospitalized in East Side shooting. Both were stepbrothers. One teen is dead and another is hospitalized after a shooting in Detroit Friday. Police said two stepbrothers, both were 13 years old, were shot on Mitchell and Outer Drive on the city's east side. One of the boys had died while the other was sent to the hospital. This continues an already violent and deadly summer for young people in Detroit. The two boys became the fourth and fifth child shot this past week. You see that? So if you keep reading this, they talk about how the shooters they had an exchange of words. So ain't no telling what they said and what they what transpired before that. Another big part in things like this is social media. If you go on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all TikTok or everything, really, it's just a bunch of mess being kept up, going back and forth, and that's what's starting a lot of this violence. And like I said, young people like this, they really don't have no reason to be in nothing dead. Nothing can actually happen to make them can transpire between two 13-year-olds to really result in a death. So it got to be words. That's the only other option. Somebody was probably teasing somebody. Somebody was probably bullying or talking about somebody, just talking bad about somebody. And a lot of these parents, they're not really raising their children, so they letting them walk around and do whatever. Why two children even out here walking around by themselves to be able to get shot in this manner? So it is what it is. That's why we got to watch our mouth, because you never know what's on somebody else's heart or what kind of upbringing they had. Let me get this next scripture. Give me Ecclesiasticus 28:13 through 18.
So right, 28 and 13.
Con 13 through 18.
Cursed be the whisperer and double tongued, for such have destroyed many that were at peace.
You see that? Be many people at peace, and then here comes somebody talking crazy or saying stuff they shouldn't be saying, and causing destruction. Keep going.
A backbiting tongue have disquieted many, and have driven them from nation to nation. Strong cities have it pulled down, and overthrown the houses of great men.
You see that? So all kind of destruction has been caused by a backbiting tongue. Keep going.
A backbiting tongue have cast out virtuous women, and deprived them of their labors. Who has hearkened to it shall never find rest, and never dwell quietly.
You
The
see that?
stroke
So
of the
as a believer, as a believer, you have to be mindful of what people saying and be able to not ignore it and not react to it. So when you hear certain foolishness, you got to learn how to filter through that and ignore it. To know that this is stupid. I'm not even finna listen to this because I'm sitting here at peace and at quiet, and now you trying to rile me up and get me into some unnecessary drama. So as a believer, you got to be able to filter that and say, nah, I ain't finna even get at my time and my energy. Keep going.
verse 17. The stroke of the whip maketh marks in the flesh, but the stroke of the tongue breaketh the bones. Many have fallen by the edge of the sword, but not so many have fallen by the tongue.
You see that the tongue can cause more death than the edge of the sword. So when you tell me you gotta watch what you're saying and watch what you're listening to, just as important as watching what you're saying. Watch who and what you're listening to. Let me get Proverbs 26 and 28.
The book of Proverbs 26 and 28. A lying tongue hateth those that are afflicted by it, and its flattering mouth worketh ruin.
You see that? It's pretty straightforward. A lying tongue. That's why I say you shouldn't even be around people like that. You gotta filter out who you around. So you don't be subject to all this foolishness anyway. That's why you gotta surround yourself with men and women of the most high, like-minded men and women. You gotta even filter through that sometimes. See that? So let me get the next scripture. Let me get Matthew 12:36-37.
The book of Matthew 12 and 36. But I say unto you, that every idle word that man shall speak, they should give account thereof in the day of judgment.
Uh-oh, you see that? Everything that you say, you're gonna have to give an account for it. So if that ain't a reason to watch what you say, I don't know what is. Keep going.
Verse 37. For by thy words of thou, Salakia, for by thy words thou shalt be justified.
You see that?
And
So
by thy
whatever
word,
by the good things you saying, you gonna be justified. Keep going.
and by thy words thou shalt be condemned.
And by the bad that you say, you gonna be condemned or punished for that. You see that? So if that ain't enough reason to watch what you say, I don't know what is. Let me get Job 15, 5 and 6.
The book of Job 15 and verse 5. For thou mouth uttereth thy iniquity, and thou choosest the tongue of the crafty. Thy own mouth condemneth thee, and not I. Yea, thy own lip testify against thee.
You see that? So your own words go be used against you. You know how they say anything you say can or will be used against you when they read your rights? That's true with the Most High as well. I almost think they got it from this. They probably did. Who knows? But
Uh,
they get a lot of stuff from the Bible, and they don't tell you. They try to keep you away from this stuff. But yeah, it sounds very similar to me. So that's probably exactly where they got that from. But see that? Let me get this next article. And this one is titled it's an NPR article. And it's titled T encourages its users to spill. The app data got leaked. So if y'all didn't know, it's a new app called T, where basically women get on here and just talk about whoever they've been talking to. You know, that's you know, if the slang word of T means like what's the word on the street, or what's the drama, or what's the the latest mess going on. That's really what it boiled down to. The T app describes itself as the safest place to spill tea about potential online matches, allowing its subscribers to conduct background and criminal record checks, reverse image searches, and communicate anonymously among one another about men posted on the app. But the revelation last month of personal data being hacked and leaked online threatened the personal safety of women on the popular app and laid bare the anonymous one-sided accusations against the men in their dating pool. It also put a spotlight in the flaws in such whisper networks, which gained prominence in the Me Too era. So pretty much this is an app where women get on there and talk about the men they used to talk, the men they talk to or been talking to or trying to talk to. It's pretty much a bunch of mess that our women been participating in. And as a woman of the Most High, I don't want to hear about none of y'all on this app being messy. Really don't want to hear about y'all being on the app at all. But I can't control what y'all do. But I would prefer you not be on there. Because that's all it is, a bunch of rumors. You can't really prove none of this stuff. And I wonder if there's a statistic out there, which I wouldn't doubt if it show up in the next couple of years, of how many couples been broken up, and how many how much embarrassment, and how many fights and domestic violence has occurred around information gotten on this app, and how much is actually true. Like I said, it's rumors. Ain't nobody vetting this stuff. You can get on there and do and say whatever you want to do about somebody. Let me get this next scripture. Let me get 1 Peter 4:15, because women got a role in this too. Now that's what we got to understand. Y'all have probably a bigger role in this than some of the men do, just because of how social women are. Women are much more social than the men are.
The book of First Peter, the book of 1 Peter 4:15. But let none of you suffer as a murderer, or as a thief, or as an evildoer, or as a busybody in other man's matters.
You see that? Busybody in other man's matter. That was the point. A busybody is somebody that's always, going around looking for, the latest information or mess that I have nothing to do with them. Look up the definition of it. It's a person who pries into or meddles in the affairs of others. You see that? Just messing around with stuff you don't have no business trying to figure out. Let me get Proverbs 20:19.
The book of Proverbs 20:19. He that go about as a talebearer revealeth secrets. Therefore meddle not with him that flattereth with his lips.
See that? You're not even supposed to be around people that's going around spreading rumors and being messy and talebearing. See that? You're supposed to ignore these people and put them far away from you. Give me 1 Timothy 5:15-13.
1 Timothy 5, and what was the verse?
13-14. Salaki.
1 Timothy 5:13. And withal they learn to be idle, wandering about from house to house, not only idle, but tattlers, also, and busybodies, speaking things which they ought not.
What they doing is read that last part again. Busybody speaking what?
Things they ought not.
You see that? So that's what a lot, especially like I said, a lot of the women in our community, you see them on these apps, on social media, just being messy, saying things they shouldn't be saying, putting business out there. And I'm gonna get the blue letter definition of that word, busybody. Say busy about trifles and neglectful of important matters. Second definition, busy about other folks' affairs. You see that? You ain't taking care of the business that you should be taking care of, but you want to sit here and spend time in this foolishness. See that? That's what a busybody is. They ain't handling nothing. They ain't worried about the kingdom. They ain't worried about doing no work of the Most High. They ain't worried about making sure their kids ate and making sure the community good or their household good. They up there sitting on the T app trying to figure out what they can find out about somebody else's business. See that? So that's why we don't want our sisters doing that. Let me get Ecclesiasticus 26:14-15. So this the kind of sisters that we want right here.
Ecclesiastes 26:14. A silent and loving woman is a gift of the Lord.
Oh, say that again.
A silent and loving woman is a gift of the Lord. And there is nothing so much worth as a mind well instructed.
Yeah. Keep going
A
next verse.
shamefaced and faithful woman is a double grace, and her continent mind cannot be valued.
You see
Her
that? A
content
woman that
mind cannot be valued. Sorry.
you see that? A woman that's shamefaced, that has some kind of that's not it's easy to embarrass her. You don't want her to be too proud and put herself out there too much. She has some shame. She go watch what she do. She don't want to be an embarrassment to her family and her household. You see that? So we gotta. It's good to have a shamefaced woman out here. Get a couple more scriptures. Let me get Lamentations 3:26-29 because it's now let's talk about what we shouldn't be doing and saying, but let's talk about what we should be doing and saying.
Lamentations 3:26. It is good that a man should both hope and quietly wait for the salvation of the Lord.
You see that?
It,
Quietly
it is
hoping
good
and
for
waiting for the salvation of the Most High. Keep going.
it is good for a man that he bear the yoke in his youth.
You see that? When young men, you should be out here doing the work of the Most High. Keep going.
He sitteth alone and keepeth silence, because he hath borne it upon him.
You see that? Read that again.
He sitteth alone and keepeth silence, because he hath borne it upon him.
You see that after you done did all this work, work trying to earn for yourself, then you come back and do more work for the Most High. You don't have time to be out here milling around in all this mess. You go be quiet. And if you don't know what you should be saying yet, just be quiet. You don't have to say nothing. You should be sitting here and learning. If you a young man in this truth and don't have the full understanding, you should just be focused on learning and not saying much at all. Keep going.
He put his mouth in the dust.
He do what?
So be there. He put his mouth in the dust.
Shut his mouth because he don't know enough to be talking and teaching nobody yet.
If so be there may be hope.
Keep going.
He giveth his check to him that smiteth him. He giveth his cheek to him that smiteth him. He is full with reproach.
You see that? That's it on that. But you see that, young man, if you don't necessarily know what you should be, how to teach yet, you haven't been in this truth long enough to teach, don't sit here and try to teach nobody and then you end up teaching them wrong because now you got to be responsible for that. So if you don't know something, act like you don't know. Because now somebody that don't know, it's okay not to know. But somebody that don't know and they don't know that they don't know, that's dangerous. Because now you finna spread all kind of misinformation and give us a bad name, and ain't no telling how folks gonna be looking at them. So just be careful if you don't know. You got to give an account for that. Let me get Job 27:3-4.
The book of Job, chapter 27 and verse 3. All the while my breath is in me, and the Spirit of God is in my nostrils. My lips shall not speak wickedness, nor my tongue utter deceit.
You see that? So righteous man, he not speaking no wickedness. He not out here trying to deceive or trick nobody. See that? Let me get Job 33:2-3.
Job 33 and 2. Behold, now I have opened my mouth. My tongue has spoken in my mouth. My words shall be of the uprightness of my heart, and my lips shall utter knowledge clearly.
You see that? So you're not out here just spitting nonsense. You out here giving people knowledge, giving people knowledge and understanding of this word. You see that? So you're not out here just speaking foolishness. That's what a righteous man will do. You see that? Let me get Malachi 2, 6 and 7.
The book of Malachi, chapter 2, verse 6. The law of truth was in his mouth, and iniquity was not found in his lips. He walked
See that?
with me in peace.
You see that? He had the law in his lips. And iniquity not found in it. See that? So he out here teaching the word. Was that it on that?
Salakia. Salakia, I'm gonna start over. The law of
Okay.
truth was in his mouth, and iniquity was not found in his lips. He walked with me in peace and equity, and did turn many away from their iniquity. Verse 7. For the priest's lips should keep knowledge, and they should seek the law in his mouth, for he is the messenger of the Lord of hosts.
You see that? So the priest ought to be able to the priest ought to be spreading this knowledge and teaching these laws. You call yourself being a man of the Most High. That should be one of your goals. Be able to teach the law. Let me get Isaiah 28 and 9.
The book of Isaiah 28 and 9. Who shall he teach knowledge? And whom shall make him to understand doctrine? Them that are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast.
Keep going.
For precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line. Here a little and there a little.
You see that? So you got to get this understanding, learn these scriptures, learn these precepts, and get this knowledge. Drink the milk and get you a good foundation. The law is gonna be your foundation. Get you a good foundation. That's the milk. Then you can go off into the understanding some of the prophecies, and then you can teach your peers. For a young man in school, but you got to get that understanding first. Get that milk, then you can start chewing on the meat. But get that milk first. Give me verse 11.
28:11.
Come.
For with stammering lips in another tongue will he speak to this people.
You see that? You need to be speaking to these people. That's what we ought to keep in our mouth. This law, these precepts, breaking down these prophecies, giving understanding. Last verse. Let me get Psalms 149 and 5.
I'm Salaki, sir. Could you call that verse again?
Psalms 149 and 5 through 9.
The book of Psalms 149 and 5. Let the saints be joyful in the glory. Let them sing aloud upon their beds. Let the high praises of God be in their mouth, and the two-edged sword in their hand.
You see that? We ought to be singing and so even the music we listening to, we got to be careful about the music we listening to, and when what we singing out loud. We not need to listen to music that gives praise to the Most High. Keep going.
To execute vengeance upon the heathen, and to punishment upon the people. To bind their kings with chains, and their nobles with feathers of iron.
Keep going.
To execute upon them the judgment written. This honor have all the saints. Praise ye the Lord.
You see that ought to be the goal of what we speaking about, to be able to spread this knowledge, give praise to the Most High. We keep doing that long enough, and we get our numbers up, and we gonna be able to come up against the heathen and punish the heathen. But it start with your mouth. And it's gonna be an honor to be able to put punishment upon the heathen. All praise to the Most High. Shalom.
You and I as the Israelites, have to war within yourselves and against your own fleshly lust. You have to war with worldly temptation. With all the spiritual energy you can muster, war for the kingdom of Yah.
We aim and shoot scriptural bullets at demon troops. I'm just spitting truth. Look at yourself if it's staying in you. Release yourself from the lies and the doctrine you clinging to. Repenting mean the path that you walk and you see it through. That mean you gotta switch up your people leaving the crew. That mean you gotta watch what you say and watch what you do. But until you see the truth.